We are back for another installment on what seems like the never-ending Land Cruiser project. This time I will be doing a somewhat unconventional thing, and we're actually going to be installing all of the Smog components back onto it. And I'm going to flip the camera around and kind of show you what's going on and show you the parts that need to go on it. So as beautiful as this looks right now, unfortunately it's going to have a cluster of vacuum hoses, this air pump, the rail, and all the air injectors back in. And I'm doing that for a few reasons. One, I have the parts. They came with the Land Cruiser when I purchased it. And two, it'll make it more valuable in the long run. This thing isn't a high performance monster. I'm not out here to get all the horsepower I need, and I don't want to have to deal with illegal smogs in the future. So I did take this over to my buddy's shop and we pre-tested it. It passed 3 of the 4 checks, but it wouldn't pass the CO maximum allowed level, which was 1.56. It was constantly at 2.0. We couldn't get it down. Got everything else down, but I knew at some point I was going to have to revisit this subject on this build even after I got it running. So basically we're just gonna go back to stock. We're gonna get the air pump back on. We'll get all the vacuum hoses, all of the solenoids, and plumb it all, and hopefully that solves the problem. My Smog buddy was definitely convinced that it will. And my most famous workbench is the dryer. If you watch my videos, I use the washer and dryer as a workbench more often than I should. But anyways, here is the air injection rail. This is going to be the hardest part for me to figure out. So originally these ports are screwed into the cylinder head, and I'll take this one off to show you. And then these ports from the cylinder head are screwed onto this rail. And then you've got a hose that comes from the air pump. And these are all vacuum pieces that go to who knows where. I have to decipher and figure out where all these go. Fortunately, they kept every nut, bolt, and washer that was removed from what I can see. I've got sensors. I even have the color matched body bolts that were missing from inside the engine bay. So jumping over to the real workbench, which has a ton of crap on it, but I'm going to show you what's what. This is going to be a shield for the factory header, and then we'll have the air pump right here. So this is where the belt rides, and you've got these 3 hoses. So one hose right here rides all the way up, and that goes to the air cleaner port. This hose just goes straight to this deal. Who knows what the heck that is? And then this hose is what's going to go onto that port right there. So if you're following along, we'll show you right here. So this one is going to go on the motor right here. It kind of snakes all the way down, and the air pump bolts to this bracket right here, and we'll have to put the belt on and a couple of other pieces to mount that up. From there, if you look, we've got 1, 2, 3, and this one I had made a temporary jumper harness to get the carb cool fan to work, but that was number 4 of not being used, and those are all part of this whole deal right here. I don't even know what it is called officially. I think it's a VSV, but it has all these things that need to get bolted to it. All of these vacuum lines. So if you look right here, you see that's 1, 2, and 3. They've got those flat recesses. So those are going to mount onto right here. So 1, 2, and 3. And you can see all those vacuum plugs that are plugged up. Let's see, so there's a bracket right here that's missing where these 2 wires would normally rest on. This is all empty because it's missing the hoses that go into these right here. And then there's a couple of vacuum hoses that swing around to the other side. And so that all gets bolted right here. It seems a little daunting at first, but I'm just gonna take my time. everything's gonna fall into place eventually where it should, and we'll figure out what's missing. But like I said before, it shouldn't be too hard. Let me show you this. So this is the piece that goes on the carburetor. So this goes right here. So if you can see, it all kind of falls into place. Like this is gonna go, I believe, onto here, and then you've got these two receivers for the smooth part of those plugs. So it's a nightmare. I don't want to make the engine bay look all cluttered again, but I also don't want to deal with having to pay an exorbitant amount for an illegal smog, and an illegal smog is also not the right thing to do. So we're just gonna get this thing back into shape. If you look, the last thing I forgot to mention is it does have aftermarket headers, and these aren't the carb legal version. So the carb legal version of these headers on that last runner has a port for the EGR to bolt up to, and that really helps burn off the last of the fuel in the exhaust before it hits the tailpipe. Now, one more thing I forgot, I was holding this the whole time through that rant, and this goes in here. So these were filled with flathead brass bungs way back in the day, and there's gonna be 1, 2 in there. I don't know if you can see it. So 1, 2, another 1, 2, and then one way in the back, that flathead bolt way back there. That is going to be an absolute nightmare to get out if it doesn't come out with these with the socket I just ordered. So I ordered a socket that's flathead, that's as long as that plug, which is 3/8, and I'm hoping that supplies enough torque to get it out. If not, these 5 are going to be okay, because I could drill them out. I'm definitely taking the manifold off. I could drill them out and extract it, but there's just no room back there. So I'm really questioning what we're going to do with that. I think we'll just deal with it when we get to that point. And this is going to be that whole EGR assembly. I taped it up because it was just super rusty. I'm still working on that, actually. And I need to paint that, and I'll probably paint that with some rust reformer as well. But yeah, so this thing needs to go back on. And what we have here is what they call the California specific thermal reactor manifold. So this thing works off of some extreme heat, and then you've got this flapper right here that rises heat under the intake manifold. The only thing about this deal is they get really hot. They're made out of cast. This is super rare because it's a California spec, and they are known to crack all the time. So I don't know if I'm going to put this on. I might just put it back on and go completely stock, or I'll look for the version of the headers that are on it now that are carb legal, and I'll make that work. Because it's not an issue, or it's not a question of if it will crack, it's a question of when. And the way you weld and repair cast is very hard. So this is just going to be a headache for me in the future. I don't know if I want to do it. And the last thing that's really keeping me away from doing it is this flange is modified on the pipe on the Land Cruiser to accept the aftermarket headers. So I would have to remodify the exhaust to accept the stock header again. So if I could find a set of those carb legal headers, I can just bolt it on, remove and replace. And it's got this EGR port on the last runner, and there's a little modified pipe that you'll need, and that'll work. So that's my plan, is to try to find one of those. Worst case, I'll use this guy, but I really don't want to, especially because it looks terrible. It'll take a lot of work to detail it out. So that is my rant. You've seen the parts, you heard the plan, and now you know why I'm going to do what I'm doing. Now, one last thing I didn't mention was, if I cannot get that last plug out easily, the head has to come off. It's going to suck because I've already changed the head gasket when I first worked on this Land Cruiser before I purchased it. So I've already, made peace with the fact that it's in a weird spot. There's no room. If the head has to come off, it has to come off. At the end of the day, it's just time. It's not a lot of money on gaskets. The head gasket's not too much. I've got to change the header gasket anyways, and that's paired with the intake manifold gasket because they're one. So that's got to get changed anyways. So it's really just going to be probably a bunch of coolant that I need to save because I literally just put it in the last video. But I think that'll be the only problem. And doing a few warm-ups and making sure I adjust the valves when they're hot. But I don't want to get that far. Right now, we're just going to take the air cleaner off, maybe the intake manifold and the headers, make some room to try to get more comfortable and figure out if these brass plugs are going to fight us or not. If they don't fight us, this will be a very easy replacement, or at least not a replacement, but a job to get the Smog equipment back on. If they do fight us, it's going to be hell. So let's start right now and see how it works out. We're going to do this together. We have the carburetor removed, the base plate on that, a few miscellaneous brackets out of the way, and I just wanted to dive into here and show you that we did have an exhaust leak. I heard that. I didn't know where it was coming from, but it makes sense because these gaskets are known to go out relatively quickly. I realized that after I had done all this work, so we'll definitely be getting a good quality OEM gasket so we could prevent that from happening again. You can see the soot from here. All right, and we're going to be taking off the intake manifold, and we'll be taking off the header. And man, just the more I look at that plug in the back, the more I feel like this head has to come off. I really don't want to take this head off, but I just have this gut feeling it's got to come off. So we'll keep diving further into this and see what happens. Okay, we're gonna end the video today on getting the intake manifold, carburetor, and headers removed. Right here we can see that it was actually leaking on both sides. So the side closest to the head and also the side on the intake manifold. So it was leaking on both sides. This one was about to start leaking, if not probably already leaking on the bottom. Head side was good. Head side was good on the ends. But yeah, I just recently learned that these are pretty much garbage, and now we can figure out what we're gonna do. I've got that socket coming in for the plugs, but we're gonna end the video here. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe. It makes a big difference for the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one when we start taking those plugs out. Guys, I committed a YouTube sin. I did not record one of the most crucial moments of this re-smogging adventure that I'm going on. And man, I was too excited when the tool came in, and I had to do it, and it literally kept me up at night. Like I said earlier, I was thinking about ending the video on that note, but we're gonna keep moving forward, and I'm gonna show you what happened. So I was originally using this screwdriver, and it kind of fit that for the most part, but not all the way, and it was kind of just messing up the brass head. I had ordered this socket on Amazon about a week ago. It's a very unique, odd socket. It's a 3/8 drive, and it's 3/8 wide. And so that fit way more, and it went down, recessed way more into the flathead. And I used this impact screwdriver. So when you have it on the socket and you hit it in the back with a hammer, it puts force and twists out. So I was able to get this one out, no problem. And the one that I was really worried about in the back, I was able to free up with the use of 2 extensions. So 2 long extensions with the impact at the very end and the hammer. And I was holding it right here and hammering it, and it was at such a weird angle. I really didn't think it was gonna come out, but it unscrewed, and that port is threaded perfectly. I left the plug there just so nothing gets inside of it, but that was the one that was really going to hold me up here. The rest of these, I should be able to hammer out with the impact driver bit, but if I don't, I'll have room here to drill and extract, where back there I wouldn't. And that one was the one that was really messing me up. So I'm going to time lapse this. We'll see if we get lucky on any of these. If we don't, I'll have to order an extractor kit, but I've been letting them sit with some Freol penetrating spray, and we're gonna go for it and see what happens. Let's hope the rest of these come out easy. All we can do is cross our fingers. You gotta cross them for me because I am doing the hard work. I may use a heavier hammer, just give it more torque. All right, we got movement. I don't want to be too abusive because we're not trying to crack a cylinder head either. All right, see if we can get some more out. This one's deep. This one's probably deeper than all the other ones. I have to apply twisting torque to get it to come out with that impact hammer. I'm gonna try a heavier hammer on this one. It's deep. All right. This one is not coming out. That is stuck. All right, let's move on to the other ones. And maybe I'll use a little heat on this. Yes. Okay, that one's done. This thing is heavy. Whew. Yep, that one's not coming out. So we weren't 100% lucky, but I would say, considering all things, we're pretty darn lucky. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 6 out. We've got 1 and 2 that don't want to come out, and I think we're gonna have to drill those and extract them. That's really gonna be the only way. That one won't be too hard. I could use a drill like normal. We're going to end the video here. We've figured out that we're definitely on the right track to getting this ready for the air injection ports. I've got the air pump getting reassembled so I could put it back on. Those are known for blowing out bearings and seizing. So I took it apart so I could put in some grease and take out that old, you know, who knows how old that grease is, but it's really bad. So I'm gonna clean it all out, re-grease it, and then we'll have to refinish the bracket that bolts here for the swing part of that. Then we can bolt that in, put all the electronics. Still need to work on getting the carb legal header. I've got to clean all this space right here so we can get a new gasket on. I will be getting one from Toyota this time. It does look kind of like the gasket that we used last time, but I think the port design is way better suited for this than the other one, which was pretty large, and that's probably why I blew those out. But either way, that's the game plan for now, and we're gonna keep rocking and rolling on the next one. So stay tuned, like and follow if you haven't already. We will get this baby carb legal.